An AI strategy that is safe and accountable, along with more support for workers and firms. These are some of the key concerns for MPs as the new tech-dominated parliamentary proceedings on the opening day of the Budget 2026 debate. Now, apart from emerging tech, MPs also called for greater support to uplift families, the vulnerable, and seniors. Singapore will step up support for small and medium-sized firms to experiment with artificial intelligence, lowering financial risks and making adoption easier. Minister of State for Digital Development and Information Jasmine Lau says the push to drive wider AI use must go hand in hand with strong safeguards and clear responsibility.
Accountability means developing AI governance frameworks that are robust and ethical. It means being more transparent with citizens about how AI is being used in government services and allowing them to still connect with human public service officers if they need to. Accountability also means recognizing the risks and dangers of AI, developing regulatory frameworks on what AI content should be disallowed for certain audiences, and making sure there's a clear chain of accountability.
To boost AI literacy, MPs called for mandatory training and structured apprenticeships, especially for younger Singaporeans. They also asked for clear productivity targets and measurable labour outcomes.
Our juniors must learn to curate, steer, and verify AI outputs. The competitive advantage is not pressing generate. It's about asking the right questions and judging the answers. If we lose the first job pathway, and if our juniors never get the chance to learn how to be AI conductors, we lose the future workforce. For mid-career Singaporeans, the fear is not only unemployment, but stagnation and even decline.
They must master AI supervision and orchestration. They must be able to frame problems, direct AI agents, curate inputs, validate outputs, apply domain judgment, and ethical reasoning. Tool access is necessary, but not enough. So we must teach Singaporeans not just how to use AI, but how to think with AI, to challenge it, and to govern it. This means serious investments in mid-career reskilling and professional certifications in AI supervision and AI operations, mentorship and applied learning, and building a culture of collaboration with AI. Not humans versus AI, but humans with AI.
MPs acknowledged that AI adoption will reshape the economy and jobs, but they questioned whether Singaporeans are ready to use the tool confidently, responsibly, and effectively. Some also raised concerns about growing AI fatigue.
Used well, AI can amplify human capability and creativity. Used uncritically, it can weaken judgment and erode independent thinking. So our responsibility is to ensure that Singaporeans, especially our youth, are equipped not only to access AI, but to understand it, question it, and use it responsibly.
I support the ambition to harness AI as a strategic advantage. But I also want to acknowledge something that many Singaporeans feel, but few are saying out loud, that AI fatigue is real. It is the feeling that no matter how fast we learn, the ground is always shifting beneath us. It is the worry that tools meant to make us more productive, to make our lives easier, are actually leaving us with more to do.
Another MP called for an inclusive AI roadmap, one that goes beyond white-collar co-pilots, to include the deployment of physical AI to support blue-collar workers in manufacturing and logistics.
This could include tools like wearable haptic sensors that alert workers to ergonomic risks to prevent long-term injury, or collaborative robots to assist with heavy lifting on the factory floor. Furthermore, AI can be a powerful tool for blue-collar workers who may struggle with English language constraints. It can translate vernacular dictation into professional English documentation in real time, allowing workers to focus on their technical expertise rather than linguistic hurdles. These tools enable productivity gains that lead to enhanced wages and reduced physical strain for those on the front lines.
Several MPs have urged for more support for families. They say gaps remain for the sandwiched class, who do not qualify for the highest assistance tiers, but still feel the financial squeeze acutely. Suggestions include enhancing childcare and caregiver assistance, as well as providing housing and work arrangements.
Basic childcare, infant care, and student care should be free. Period. This is conceptually no different to how we provide all Singaporeans with basic education today. I urge the government to think of childcare and preschool as a public good. Second, Life SG credits can be systematically given to all parents with children up to 16 years old and should be sized to cover more of the basic out-of-pocket costs of child raising.
Families still do feel that the system, still experience the system as fragmented. Information sits across multiple portals and agencies, and we should consider piloting integrated family support hubs that coordinate childcare, elder care, respite services, and employment assistance, providing a one-stop touchpoint for families for case management.
Give family more flexibility to upgrade their larger flats when a new child arrives and relax the existing rules on flat application within minimum occupation period. Basically, some families already live in smaller HDB flats and they find space become too tight after having the second or third child. In this case, we should consider activating more flexible pathways for them to move to larger flats.
Mr. Ho was also among MPs who sought more help for vulnerable groups. They include raising the annual tax bracket for lower income earners and giving more support for students in vulnerable families. Also mentioned, providing affordable access to upskilling.
Higher family incomes can pay, and family with stronger networks hear about opportunities earlier and get better guidance on what to try. Lower income families often cannot. Skills Future can consider creating a low-cost or subsidized taster lessons or courses and micro-attachment in new industries so Singaporeans can experience the nature of the work before committing time and money into a full course.
More lower and middle income earners enter the tax base not because they are significantly better off, but because the system has not been recalibrated. A phase adjustment, for example, to $25,000 or $30,000 would provide meaningful relief to lower and middle income groups. Second, help them retain more savings and potentially asset building.
The government could provide children from low-income families with additional support via the Child Development or EduSave accounts. In other words, make government contributions to these accounts progressive. Donors could also be encouraged to top up the accounts of less well-off children identified by schools or community organizations with matching funding from the government.
Workers Party Chief Pritam Singh has called for more transparency in public spending as a record budget surplus of $15.1 billion was registered for financial year of 2025. He cited the example of the $25 billion Research, Innovation and Enterprise Plan from 2021 to 2025. Mr. Singh says there has been no report on whether how many jobs were created or if objectives have been met or fell short.
Such transparency allows members of Parliament on both sides of this House to fulfill their duty in scrutinising public expenditure as part of their responsibilities as MPs. It gives our people, and our youth in particular, a clearer picture of the opportunities ahead and helps attract the best minds to Singapore. There is much work still to be done in demonstrating how efficaciously taxpayer dollars have been spent.
The surplus of $15.1 billion is more than double the original estimate of $6.8 billion. The Workers' Party's Gerald Giam says this $8.29 billion discrepancy is part of a trend where projected deficits regularly transform into healthy surpluses.
This consistent underestimation raises fundamental questions of whether the government is unnecessarily hoarding funds. We need more accurate forecasting that ensures our nation's abundance benefits current generations as much as future generations. This fiscal abundance also raises questions about the government's tax strategies. With surpluses of well over $1 billion in all but one of the last 5 years, totaling $22 billion, should we reevaluate the necessity of the GST hike?
MPs from the ruling People's Action Party say having a surplus is good in the face of global uncertainty. One suggests there be no more tax hikes in the near term.
Given the current surplus position, perhaps we can signal stability by avoiding further tax increases in the near term. I recognize that government will, when necessary, need to raise revenue. But where new measures are introduced, they should be calibrated carefully and remain progressive. Perhaps there should be no additional effective burden on lower-income households, and revenue adjustments should be designed with cost pressures firmly in mind.
The fact that we have a surplus is not surprising. But what is surprising is how large the surplus is and why it is so. A pleasant surprise was the surge in business profitability, leading to a windfall budget surplus from corporate taxes. A rule of thumb that fiscal planners used to have is that corporate income tax would be around 3% of GDP. But it has now gone above 4%. That's a significant sum, around $10 billion more.
It reflects prudence and discipline. When the world is becoming more contested, when supply chains fracture and guardrails that once managed international disputes and tensions are eroding, it is better to discover we have more than expected than to discover that we have too little. In uncertain times, a surplus is not a mistake, it is a buffer.
Nominated MP Terence Ho says a strong fiscal position in the current political climate is both rare and enviable, something not easily replicated by other countries.
Fiscal strength allows for policy optionality and gives confidence that the government has the resources to carry out its policy agenda. As a public policy academic, I often speak to visiting delegations of public officials from other countries. Many are eager to learn how Singapore has accumulated reserves and achieved such a healthy fiscal position, and they want to learn how their countries too can strengthen their public finances.